You know, I was going to wear my bee necklace for this, but then as I was about to put it on, the wire snapped. And this is my bee, all on its own. This isn't the first time this has happened, but I think it pretty much summarises what we're in for. So, Becoming Elizabeth is now here with us, and after months or even goddamn years of waiting and waiting for it to be finished, it's finally arrived, and I'm glad I did not put any hype behind it. It seems that every June they're going to release a new Tudor drama, and I'm going to hate it, and you're going to crowd around my channel and join in the hatred with me. Yeah, I couldn't get the microphone to behave because our coffee table's a bit too far away, so we're just going to use this Darina Allen cookbook as a desk. And I'm sure you've noticed the location is a bit different today. We're filming downstairs in the living room instead of upstairs in my room. One, because my mother is ill and she doesn't need to hear me rambling, and two, because there are people next door, because the old people moved out. They're going to redo it and like put it on the rental market. I don't know if that's very ethical, and I don't know what they're doing in the room next to mine, but it sounds like an archaeological dig. And I woke up this morning and I thought there was a rat in the walls, but it was just them scraping something or whatever. Maybe they're taking up the skirting board to get rid of rats. I would not be surprised. They were slobs. So, Becoming Elizabeth. Right, what was the first thing I was going to say about this? Other than I'm going to put Hayden Christensen on the thumbnail again. I love the guy because mostly his performance as Anakin Skywalker is very good for capturing how I feel about certain things. The Vader glare. Oh yes, I'm so glad Anne Boleyn wasn't in this. So this is stars when they don't have Philippa Gregory. It's not much better, is it? So at first I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to watch this episode because it's a Starz original, and the Starz streaming service is only available in America unless you pay for it through Amazon Prime. But luckily, my brother-in-law, or rather, he's not married to my sister, he's my boyfriend, but I just call him my brother-in-law to save time. But he hooked me up with the first episode, and he's going to be doing that throughout the series, which is nice of him. Thank you very much if you're watching this. I doubt you are, because I doubt you're interested in what I do. Anyway, so Becoming Elizabeth starts round about the same day Henry VIII is dead, and the Seymour clan are rushing to gather as much support behind them so they can control Edward when he becomes the new king. And Edward Seymour, the oldest brother of James Seymour, Edward's mother, it can become the Lord Protector. Because despite popular belief, and what the end of the Tudors would have you believe, Henry never appointed a Lord Protector to look after Edward. Yeah, so everyone rushes to what is probably meant to be Hunsdon, but it's actually Haddon Hall in Derbyshire. And they go and gather Henry's 3 living children, and they say the king is dead, Edward's the new king. Like, for an opening, it's okay. I think one thing we could do without, though, was that turquoise text that was telling us who everyone was, because I think really you just didn't need telling about who everyone was, because they say everyone's names regardless. I mean, you're going into this, you should have like a vague idea of like what Henry VIII's court was like at the end of his reign, where he had 3 children. They would all succeed him, and one was better than the other 2. Because there was this bit where the text introduced each child as they came in. So you had Mary, who was at prayer, because of course she was at prayer, because what else is Mary going to do? And Edward is being taken out of bed against his will, and Elizabeth is being woken. Kat Ashley came in, and then she said Elizabeth, and then the text said Elizabeth. And I was like, redundant much? Yeah, I got jump scared twice by the opening. Like, first it was like, you know, Starz original, and suddenly wham, taking Henry's body to Windsor. And then as soon as Edward's been pronounced the king, and then Mary and Elizabeth look at each other, it's like wham, opening credits, and I was like, I don't like this, I don't like it. So should we talk about performances? I want to save what I think of, what's her name, who's playing Mary. I want to call her Emma because she was Emma in the 2009 series. I hate that mini-series. I mean, I love Jane Austen, like such a Jane Austen fangirl, but I think that series turned me off Jane Austen for a really long time, mostly because I associate that series with this time when I was 14. I mean, it was the day it premiered, and my sister, who was in the school marching band, was off at the big national competition, and my parents had gone with a coach. I've gone with a coach load of other parents that was arranged by the school, and I went to go and spend the day with my friend. And my parents were really, really late picking me up. It was past midnight. It was a Sunday, and I was so embarrassed because I didn't have my key to get home, so my friend's parents couldn't just drop me at home and I could go to bed. It was literally like midnight by the time they managed to get back to Nottingham from Coventry to come and get me. And the next morning I was so grumpy at school because I had so little sleep, and the teachers were like, oh, if you're so tired you should have gone to bed earlier, and I'm just like, I couldn't go to bed earlier. And then later, when I found the series again on YouTube, I tried watching it and I was just like, oh god, no, I can't not think about that horrible night. But yes, anyway, we'll save what I think about her till the next episode, because she didn't really have much of a place in here. There wasn't any Elizabeth talking to Mary's like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to us now? And Mary's like, I don't know, maybe we're going to get married off. The boy that got to play Edward was quite fitting. Obviously he doesn't look 9, he looks 12, but I can understand that sometimes you can't get that great a performance out of 9-year-olds. I mean, I just finished working backstage on School of Rock for a week, and I think a lot of those kids, like, they were supposed to be playing like 10-year-olds. I haven't seen the original School of Rock, so I'm just going to guess that these guys were like, they're supposed to be playing 10-year-olds, but these kids were obviously somewhere between 11 and 13. But I can understand that. It's why you cast 20-year-olds to play 17-year-olds. But yeah, I like Edward. His hair is the right colour. And you see his petulance and his entitlement and his wish to be taken seriously as the king, whereas Edward is clearly just using him as a pawn. Clearly Edward Seymour, I should just say Somerset or Hertford, is using Edward as a pawn for his own advancement. Yeah, I like Edward Seymour's actor. He's cast pretty well. And Elizabeth is just far too old to be in this role. I mean, it's not as strikingly noticeable as Jean Simmons, who was 24 when she played a 13-year-old Elizabeth, or she was supposed to be 10 during her first grown-up scene. It was pretty noticeable. Like, she could probably pass for 17 at the most. Maybe 18, but she clearly was not 13 as she was supposed to be when Henry VIII died. My view of Elizabeth on the screen is obviously overshadowed by performances like that of Cate Blanchett and Glenda Jackson and Miranda Richardson. So obviously a new actress who comes along to play Elizabeth has very large shoes to fill. I guess this Elizabeth was a bit too open with her feelings, because I always imagined Elizabeth as someone who hides how she truly feels. She's always hidden it. She only revealed it to Robert Dudley or Cat Ashley, or sometimes maybe even Mary, when they were both relating to how much they'd been mistreated by their father and the world around them. Sorry, my throat is like sandpaper right now. Yeah, so I said earlier they're using Haddon Hall to film this. It looks awful. I mean, I know Haddon Hall, I've been there. I remember that was a really big day for me because it took us all the way through Bakewell to get there, and there was a massive traffic jam in Matlock, but it was totally worth it to get there. And then there was this lovely green lawn stretch of just stretch of nature as you go through the gatehouse up towards the main house. I remember Haddon Hall has been used a lot for period pieces because they filmed The Princess Bride there, and they also filmed 3 versions of Jane Eyre. So you got the Franco Zeffirelli version with William Hurt as Mr. Rochester, and then you got the 2006 BBC version with Ruth Wilson and Toby Stephens, and then there's the 2011 version with Mia Wasikowska and Michael Fassbender, and Judi Dench was in it as well. And yeah, that place can be made to look very, very beautiful, but in this one, it looked like it was covered in mould and it was just inches from falling apart. So remember, this is supposed to be like the Palace of Whitehall or Hampton Court or Richmond, or well, maybe not Richmond because they don't own Richmond anymore. Because yeah, Anne of Cleves has Richmond. What was the other one? Greenwich. Yeah, it should look grand and majestic. You know, they should be filming at Hardwicke Hall instead of Haddon. Believe me, there are so many Tudor-ish manors in the Midlands. It's insane. So performances that I didn't like. There were 2 main performances I didn't like, and unfortunately, it's for 2 main characters that you meet very early on. So it's Catherine Parr and Thomas Seymour. I'm not going to say much about Catherine Parr yet because we still have that rankings list that is now going to come out in July. Instead of whenever the hell that Firebrand movie is going to be coming out with Alicia Vikander and Jude Law. Because I realised I can't wait that long if it's going to be in 2023. They're probably still in pre-production, they probably haven't started filming yet. But I have read the book that it's based on, so I'll at least know how to judge it. Yes, Thomas Seymour and Catherine Parr were not shown very well in this. Oh, God. Okay, we'll start with Catherine Parr, but we'll lightly touch up on it. The woman who plays Catherine Parr is the same person who played Lady Rochford in Wolf Hall. And I have to say, there is no distinct difference or distinguishment from those characters because she's still playing the same general character who is scheming and is like, I know what I want, I'm going to go get it. Like, I was married to a douche for years and now I'm finally gonna do something about it. I want this and I hate the people who are standing in my way, and if they're in power they're just gonna have to get out of my way because I'm Catherine, bitch. Yet there was the scene where it was introduced and they were it's literally days after King Henry VIII has died and Elizabeth and Catherine has just literally jumped into bed with Thomas Seymour. They're doing it on top of the covers and everything. In many different positions. I mean, that is a very dangerous thing to do, even if you have just... it looks very suspicious. Like, the king's just died and you jump into bed with someone else. And it's not as if, like, they're the only 2 people who know it. Like, there's a beefeater outside, and then there's Thomas's page boy, and... you know, any of them could be bought out by Somerset or Gardiner to be like, so what's been going on with Thomas Seymour? And he's like, oh, he started shagging the Queen as soon as the King died. Then that's going to look a bit suspicious on Catherine's part, and maybe have people think maybe she poisoned him so she could marry Seymour. And then she was going to run England while she was fucking another man, just like the she-wolf of France and Roger Mortimer, or whatever the hell his name was. He got killed at Nottingham Castle. What else? Yes, Thomas Seymour. Oh my god, I hate the actor who plays Thomas Seymour. I mean, okay, I don't hate him personally, I probably have nothing against him. But oh my god, like, this guy is just not attractive. He doesn't act in a way that I can believe that Elizabeth would find that attractive. Like, the first time she sees him in the series, he's coming in all drunk shouting, God save the king, and then he's eyeing her up when she's in a nightgown. And the next thing you know, he's lying asleep on a window seat and he's mouth breathing. And I'm just like, who in their wildest dreams would ever find that attractive? Like, believe me, if... I'm trying to think, who's someone who's universally attractive according to people? If Tom Hardy were to come in and be all like, God save the Queen, and then pass out, and I find him the next day and he's hungover and he's mouth breathing and he runs across the room and is sick, I would be like, wow, I'm gay. Given this, earlier in the week I watched the movie The Affair of the Necklace, and there's this scene where Adrian Brody's like, oh, you know, lounged out on the bed, he's eating chocolates and he's flirting with another woman, and then he just licks into the chocolate and like brings out a little bit of fondant cream, and I was just like, oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Yes, is this elegant vision your daughter?
Yes, Count, my eldest.
You're very lovely, my dear. Have you ever considered life in the theatre?
Yes, every woman who watched that is now a lesbian. Great, now I've killed any chance of this video being shown in Florida. Although the guy, was it Tom Cullen? He looks a bit like Oscar Isaac. If that was Oscar Isaac, maybe I would find that attractive, but it's not Oscar Isaac, so I'm not going to find it attractive. Oh, no one is wearing a hat. The women are wearing hoods because I'm thinking that was a huge demand. So the women are wearing hoods when they're in public spaces. Usually when it's just Catherine, Parr and Elizabeth sitting together, they're not really wearing their hoods, but I can understand that because they're not in public, they're not trying to keep up a facade. Right, my camera battery's dying, so I can't really lounge here for ages and do this. Alright, what were we going to talk about? Where is Robert Dudley? I mean, apparently Robert Dudley's going to be in the next one, which is okay, but I wrote that note before I read the synopses for the next ones, but yeah, that was something I really didn't like about Young Bess, was that Thomas Seymour was supposed to be the only man in Elizabeth's life, and then I was just, you've probably got Robert Dudley in the background there going. But if Robert Dudley's going to be in the next one, that's fine. Yeah, there is no chemistry here. I don't find any chemistry between Catherine and Seymour or Elizabeth and Seymour. He's just a creep. And I don't know how she finds him attractive at all. There's no sign of Elizabeth's or Catherine's intelligence. There's this bit where Elizabeth's writing in some foreign language. It might be Italian, it might be Latin, it might be Greek. It might not be Greek because that's in a different alphabet. But then Catherine says, "Oh, what a wonderful handwriting you have. I remember that book you made for your father," and I think Henry was a bit pissed off at that book because it translated stuff. But yeah, this isn't Catherine Parr. It just isn't Catherine Parr. Like, she should be, like, instead of just being horny for Thomas Seymour, she should be working on her Lamentation of a Sinner. She should be working on her prayers and meditations and translations. God, I miss Jolie Richardson. Yeah, I actually missed watching Young Bess in this because it looked a lot more colourful, and yeah, the costumes look nice in that as well. I mean, just because the costumes look nice does not mean it's a good movie. Like, how can it possibly get worse from here? I don't know how it can get worse from here, but I'm glad that I've still got a couple of episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi left to cleanse the palate. I mean, I didn't know how to put out my thoughts because I did that for Anne Boleyn 2021, and I went in with high expectations thinking, oh, maybe it will be nice, and it was shot very nice. But the costumes were boring, even though Jodie Turner-Smith turned in a very good performance. The rest of the cast clearly weren't as good as she was. Like, that series sank really quickly, but at the same time I didn't have to worry about waiting 3 weeks to watch it because it came out like pretty much in days of each episode. Because that's what Channel 5 does when they're doing a series. Instead of releasing weekly, they just show one episode and then they show the next episode the next day, etc. So at least that was over quickly, but this is going to be drawn out to 8 weeks. So I'm going to do like a semi-unscripted video for each episode. I'll probably be back upstairs next week. So I often wonder how I can like the Tudors so much and yet other things show up and I hate them. Maybe if I was going into the Tudors blind, maybe if I hadn't watched it and didn't have the nostalgia for it, maybe then I wouldn't like it, but I do have the nostalgia for it and I try to be nice towards it. But I mean, there are some things in the first season that are just unforgivable, but the second to the fourth season are actually, they're okay, and they do actually reference history. And they're not rewriting it. It doesn't get needlessly rewritten. And I don't want to repeat myself every week saying it's awful that they're trying to present Thomas Seymour and Elizabeth as a love story, because it wasn't. I understand that in that final scene it looks as if Thomas is manipulating Elizabeth, where he leads her into wanting to kiss him and then he steps back. That is something that abusers do. So that was one thing it had in its favour, is it's probably going to play in to Thomas Seymour being that creep that's molesting Elizabeth. I might be biased because I know what's going to happen, but honestly, this series is just there's nothing to enjoy about it, really. Except the costumes. Anyway, I'll leave that there for now. Oh, thank you to my lovely patrons who are sitting through this with me. I'm guessing some of you in America are already watching it. Some of you in Britain are probably going to wait until it's available somewhere else. Oh gosh, it's going to be so bad. I'm at the 30-minute mark so far. Obviously, I'm going to be cutting this down. I don't know how much. Maybe I've just rambled and it's going to be about only 5 minutes long. So thank you to my patrons who have joined me with this. You can support the channel by becoming a patron, or if you can't, you can like and subscribe. My mother is afoot, so I got to stop. But thank you to Anastasia Gracia, Alison Cuff, Larissa, Lady Eternal, and Leslie Williams. I'm sorry. Again, my throat is sandpaper right now. I'm going to go back to editing my Titanic videos. Those should be out later in the week. Well, if they will be if you're a patron. If you're not a patron, they'll be released weekly. See ya.